the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise reportedly eyeing a new sequel with Glen Powell in talks to star or produce. It seems that one of the most iconic and influential horror franchises of all time, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, might be gearing up for another chilling installment. Horror fans, get ready, because Leatherface could soon be revving up his chainsaw once again. According to the latest reports, the legendary franchise is currently in the early stages of development for a new sequel, with prominent names like director JT Mollner and producer Roy Lee reportedly at the helm of this potential project. It has been over 3 years since the last installment in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise hit Netflix. The 2022 release served as a direct sequel to Tobe Hooper's 1974 classic, ignoring most of the previous follow-ups and creating a new continuity. Released on February 18, 2022, the Netflix sequel was a legacy sequel that aimed to honor the original while introducing Leatherface to a new generation of horror fans. Though it received mixed reviews from both critics and audiences, it sparked renewed interest in the franchise and proved that Leatherface remains a menacing figure in horror lore. Now it seems that the Saw may be returning once again. Recent industry chatter suggests that the production companies involved are exploring options for a new sequel, with Verve Talent and Literary Agency, an agency that has held the intellectual rights to the franchise since 2017, reportedly at the center of the negotiations. This news has sent shockwaves through the horror community, as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remains one of the most influential and recognizable horror franchises ever created. The franchise's legacy and influence. Tobe Hooper's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre first hit theaters in 1974, changing the horror genre forever. The low-budget slasher film was revolutionary for its time, blending documentary-style cinematography with raw, unrelenting terror. Hooper's creation introduced the world to Leatherface, a hulking figure who wore a mask made of human skin and wielded a roaring chainsaw. Inspired by the real-life crimes of Ed Gein, the film's macabre premise and visceral execution shocked audiences and pushed the boundaries of what horror could be. Despite facing censorship issues and bans in several countries due to its graphic content, the film became a massive commercial success, grossing over $30 million against a budget of less than $140,000. It also inspired a wave of slasher films in the late 1970s and 1980s, including Halloween, 1978, and Friday the 13th, 1980. Leatherface became one of the most recognizable villains in horror history, standing alongside Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, and Jason Voorhees as a genre icon. The original film spawned a long-running franchise consisting of 9 films, including sequels, prequels, and reboots. While the quality and continuity of the films have varied over the decades, the franchise has maintained a dedicated cult following. The 2022 Netflix film attempted to revitalize the series by directly connecting to the original film and bringing back some key legacy characters, including Sally Hardesty, the original final girl played by Marilyn Burns, though the character was portrayed by Olwen Fouere in the 2022 version due to Burns' passing. New sequel in the works. Now, the future of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre appears to be heading toward a new chapter. Reports suggest that Verve is actively working on building a multimedia strategy for the franchise. The agency's representatives recently confirmed to Deadline that they are exploring various opportunities to expand the franchise's reach and bring Leatherface back to the big screen. Verve represents the Texas Chainsaw Massacre estate and is building out a multimedia strategy for the seminal horror franchise, the agency spokesperson said. Because this is such a hot and iconic horror property, packages are preemptively being brought to Verve. While Verve has not yet officially submitted the intellectual rights to any filmmakers, buyers, or production companies, several major studios are reportedly showing strong interest in acquiring the property. Among the top contenders are Lionsgate and A24, 2 heavyweights in the horror and thriller genre. Lionsgate, known for franchises like Saw and The Hunger Games, has a track record of successfully managing horror properties and turning them into profitable franchises. A24, on the other hand, has earned critical acclaim for its work in the horror genre with films like Hereditary, 2018, Midsommar, 2019, and The Witch, 2015. If A24 were to acquire the rights, it could signal a more artistic and psychological approach to the Texas Chainsaw lore, potentially taking the franchise in a bold new direction. Director and producer on board. Reports indicate that director JT Mollner and producer Roy Lee are at the forefront of discussions for the new sequel. Mollner, known for his work on atmospheric horror and psychological thrillers, could bring a fresh creative vision to the franchise. Roy Lee, a seasoned producer whose credits include It, 2017, and The Ring, 2002, has a reputation for successfully rebooting and revitalizing established horror franchises. Bringing these two talents together could create a potent combination of psychological depth and visceral terror, something that the Texas Chainsaw franchise has struggled to balance in past entries. The involvement of Lee in particular suggests that the new sequel could receive significant studio backing and a major marketing push. Glen Powell's interest. Perhaps the most intriguing development surrounding the new sequel is the potential involvement of actor Glen Powell. Powell, who has become one of Hollywood's most sought-after leading men following his breakout roles in Top Gun, Maverick 2022, and Anyone But You 2023, is reportedly interested in participating in the project. Sources suggest that Powell has read an early version of Mollner's script and is considering taking on a major role in the film. Even more interesting is the possibility that Powell could also serve as a producer on the project. His growing influence in Hollywood and his ability to balance both dramatic and comedic roles could bring a fresh energy to the franchise. Powell's involvement would also give the new sequel significant star power, something that the previous entries have occasionally lacked. Potential directions for the new film. If the new sequel moves forward, there are several directions it could take. The 2022 Netflix film established that Leatherface survived the events of the original film and was still alive and active decades later. A new sequel could explore the psychological toll of Leatherface's long life of violence or introduce new characters connected to the Sawyer family's twisted legacy. Another possibility is that the new film could serve as a soft reboot, introducing a fresh set of characters while maintaining the core elements of the franchise's mythology. Mollner's background in psychological horror suggests that the new sequel could delve deeper into Leatherface's psyche and explore his origins in more detail. The involvement of A24, if confirmed, could also push the franchise in a more elevated horror direction, emphasizing mood, atmosphere, and slow-building dread rather than outright gore and shock value. Alternatively, if Lionsgate secures the rights, the new film could lean into a more fast-paced, high-energy slasher approach akin to the Saw franchise.